Previously on My Two Bits. For your information, I'm trying to hook up my Flim Flam Brothers Super Easy Rift Connector 9000, or Circ 9K for short. They assure me it works properly.
Just turn it on.
Allons-y!
I'm a fire in my laser!
Well, it would appear that the Circ is acting up again. Wait. Oh my Celestia. That pony. Is he an observer? There is more than one of everything. Wait, hold on. Go back a page. Poison jokes tomfoolery! Observer pony in the background! There is more than one of everything! Hold on a second. Dear sweet Pinkamena Diane Pie! Another observer pony? There is more than one of everything. Wait a second. By the might of the Princess of the Night! That's another observer pony! There is more than one of everything!
What are you talking about?
Oh, nothing important.
Including, but not limited to, Comic's massive stiffy over the Observer Pony. Take a shot. And what are those?
Finally, after months of super subtle foreshadowing, it is time to figure out why the Observer Pony is in the background of many of the earlier comics. And for the record, there is an Observer Pony in the shadows at the dance in Nay Anything Part 2. Yeah, didn't notice that until after the review. What in Celestia's name is going on?
Where am I? The last thing I remember is getting sucked into some kind of weird glowy thing. Looked kinda like that time crack from Doctor Who.
Well, the Circ just did something. Can't be a coincidence. Name's Comic Sans. Reviewing comics is the plan. Not entirely sure why that sort of rhymed. And the floating text, my brother text typer. Long story, not getting into it.
A comic reviewer, eh? Fair enough. My name is the Ponyville Critic, but you can call me Critic. Which arc are you reviewing?
An arc? I cover things comic by comic. I was about to review the first part of the Reflections arc.
Behold the secrets of Star Swirl the Bearded!
Since you're here, we could review it together.
What, really? That's my favourite comic arc. Alright then, I'm in.
Great, you read the spoiler alert. It's a collab tradition, sorry.
Spoiler alert, this video will contain monumental life-changing spoilers. If in fact you don't want us to ruin your life, click away from the video now. Click away! Do it, man! Do it! It's not worth.
As is expected, at least by me, for this potentially epic arc, they brought in the creative team of Katie Cook on story and Andy Price on art. That alone is already increasing the score I'm gonna give this arc. Bias? What is that? I have no clue.
Don't get me wrong, the other artists have done a rather stellar job, but when it comes to this duo, nothing can outshine them. Just the sheer uniqueness and the variety of their expressions. Not to mention the more chaotic scenes they can have due to the restriction of flash animation being taken away. I'd certainly have the comics over the show any day in this respect. So if we're all done speaking about the art, maybe we can talk some plot instead.
The comic opens with an Observer Pony confronting Twilight and telling her, there's more than one of everything. Meanwhile, in Canterlot, Celestia nonchalantly walks into a mirror that looks very similar to the one from Equestria Girls.
Continuity!
This is noticed by Luna, and after a brief temper tantrum with Luna yelling at the mirror, she realizes that she may have a problem with the mirror. Totally not with her anger or anything like that.
And days later, she contacts the main six. Whoa, Luna's some trooper covering both the day and the night shift.
Well, back in the Luna Micro Series comic, she did demonstrate the ability to do Celestia's job, albeit in her own unique way.
Continuity!
But perhaps Luna should have contacted Twilight just a tad bit earlier, like, I don't know, the day of the disappearance. It's kind of a big deal when the princess just kind of walks through a mirror to another world without leaving a note.
Anyways, after some pretty nice continuity nods about the mirror from Equestria Girls, Luna reveals that many years ago Celestia and Starswirl were obsessed with that mirror, but she knows little of it because it was the time leading up to her becoming Nightmare Moon.
Continuity!
So she tells him she has gone through the Canterlot library to find every scrap of paper that Starswirl ever touched, but found nothing on the second magic mirror.
Yes, and so Best Princess decided if any information existed on the mirror, it would be in Starswirl's private study. Unfortunately, said study is not in the castle. It is somewhere in the caves beneath Canterlot. The very same caves that Queen Chrysalis used to trap Twilight and Cadence in back in Canterlot Wedding. But that's besides the point. Anyways, the problem is Luna can't find the study. And that is why she contacted Twilight. If any pony can find Starswirl's study, it would be her.
So, while the main six search, Spike is to stay with Luna while she waits. Clever way to write him out of the plot for the time being, Katie. But why? Spike could be helpful in this search too.
Yeah, I do agree. Though I guess it is better that they cut him instead of having him there and not using him. Hundreds of years ago, Celestia and Starswirl wander through the very same caves. As they walk, they chat about Luna's darkening mood. But Starswirl is sure that everything will turn around before anything bad happens. If only he knew.
But the bitterness in the young one's heart had transformed her into a wicked mare of darkness, Nightmare Moon.
Anyways, Starswirl also muses about having a Hydra guard his study.
Back in the present, the main six encounters the skeleton of said Hydra.
You know, for kids!
Shortly after they find Starswirl's Athenium.
For those who didn't read the thesaurus Twilight gave you for your birthday, an Athenium is a synonym for library. Also, Spike and Luna are playing Scrabble. Clever product placement, Hasbro. Very clever.
And buy our toys!
Anyways, inside the Athenium, they find a treasure trove of Starswirl the Bearded information. And Twilight laments how she always thought she would follow in the hoofsteps of Starswirl, not Celestia.
So, like any good bookworm, Twilight suggests they do some research, while Spike and Luna move on to play Mousetrap.
And more product placement from Hasbro. Very clever.
Buy our toys!
Back in the past, Starswirl has constructed the very first magic mirror, meaning the one in Equestria Girls is the second, using all his knowledge of equestrian magic. Unlike the Equestria Girls mirror, it can access many different alternate worlds. All one really needs is the correct spell.
Celestia is initially hesitant to go frolicking through other worlds, with Equestria still in its infancy. But eventually she agrees that the pursuit of knowledge is a worthy pastime. The very first attempt to go through the portal, they encounter a Fluttersaurus Rex! Thankfully, later attempts prove much less potentially harmful. Such worlds include a Victorian world and a Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
Like world.
At some point, there's a part of this flashback that is yet to be revealed. Celestia starts visiting Wormworld in particular behind Starswirl's back, thus forcing him to seal the mirror with a spell. To add to insult to injury, Starswirl isn't mad, he is just very disappointed.
Ouch. That is harsh. Disappointment can sometimes be worse than anger. Back in the present, they then find the information that we have just been shown via flashback in one of Starswirl's journals. They then question why it was kept secret from Luna. It is at that point that Pinkie discovers a secret passage.
The bat balls. Excuse me.
Which, as Pinkie screams, is very much a sort of deus ex machina that brings them back to where Spike and Luna have been playing Monopony?
The comic ends on a cliffhanger when Celestia stumbles back through the mirror and collapses with an image of King Sombra shown in the mirror.
There's also a short comic at the end that tells one of the ways that Star Swirl possibly got his hat. There's one at the end of each part of this arc. They're funny, but don't expect them to be mentioned again in this review or any of the reviews of this comic arc. They're not really that important to the plot. Anyways, I'd give this comic 10 Fluttersaurus Rexes out of 10. This is a fantastic way to begin the story. It starts with a cryptic message from a strange pony, and ends with a mysterious event that will actually wind up propelling the main six onto their adventure. There is also a ton of world building, as well as the backstory of Celestia, Star Swirl, the Equestria Girl's Mirror, and, to a lesser extent, pre-Nightmare Moon Luna. It is very, very well paced with a ton of great continuity nods. I also enjoyed how the flashbacks looked as if they were on aged parchment, kinda added to the atmosphere of them reading it from Star Swirl's journal. All around, it was a fun read, and I can't wait to review the next part.
The comic gives us our first look into some very interesting new plot threads, and genuinely made me excited for what's to come, which is something the show can't say consistently. I'd give this comic 7 Gaks out of 10.
Well, that is our 2 bits on Reflections Part 1.
Behold the secrets of Star Swirl the Bearded!
Tell us your 2 bits on this comic in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not suggest a possible future spoiler alert? And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Also be sure to check out my channel, link is in the description.
Well, I'm Comic Sans.
And I'm the Ponyville Critic. So, do you think I could get back to my channel now?
Unfortunately, until the Cirque decides to function correctly, you're stuck here.
Huh, fantastic.
Well, the guest room is down the hall to your left. Oh, and next week we'll be covering Reflections Part 2, Back to Where You've Never Been Before. Soon I'll be away from this accursed reality. There are far too many evildoers here. I need a fresh, new reality to conquer.
That we will conquer.
Yes, that's what I meant.